Hello, you're watching Leader Speak Easy with me, Rosina Aziz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Metamorphosa, I'm a former news, media and corporate woman who now mentors, coaches, trains and consults global leaders and entrepreneurs. Today, we will have a conversation on driving change in the marketing industry amid unprecedented disruptions. Here's an introduction to our guest today.
Dheeraj Raina has had a long and illustrious career in the advertising and marketing industry, having played key roles in the transformation of businesses in both established and startup environments. He currently serves as the CEO of media brands at Dentsu Malaysia, responsible for leading strategy and boosting performance across multiple agency brands and scaled services. Dheeraj has also served in Axiata Digital's ADA as well as Mindshare Malaysia, where he was responsible for driving the transformation of the largest agency in Malaysia, eventually achieving silver at the Campaign Asia Pacific Agency of the Year Award in 2019. Dheeraj was recently included in Campaign Asia's 40 Under 40, a hot list of 40 outstanding practitioners in the industry. He's now a council member of the Media Specialists Association and the organizing chairperson for the MSA Awards in 2021 and 2022.
Dheeraj, welcome to Leaders Speak Easy with Lokman and Rosina. Lokman can't be here today. Let's kick off by discussing your leadership mantra. So, Dheeraj, what leadership challenges do you face, and what leadership traits or mindset is the most important to you in driving the commitment to driving excellence and innovative high-tech solutions in the marketing industry and for the brands with whom you work?
Thank you, Rosie, first of all, for having me here on this show. I have always believed that leadership is a trial by fire. Not only do you have to motivate the people who work with you, but you have to constantly keep motivating and inspiring yourself as well in terms of bringing that change. Speaking about unprecedented times and how we operate as leaders, I think one of the big and most important aspects of leadership today is having a growth mindset. And I believe that aspect of leadership is the most important one. The reason I say that is because at every crisis, you have to find an opportunity. And that's really what the whole growth mindset is all about. And if anything, pandemic has anything taught us, it is about being always agile and looking at opportunities, even though the world around you looks like a lot gloomier than what it is. So therefore, that's what we really believe we need to champion as leaders. Constant inspiration and constant belief in the growth mindset.
So as a leader, Dheeraj, I understand that you have the marketing industry aspect of work. But other than that, other than your work as marketing leader and media solutions specialist, I understand you mentor local fintech entrepreneurs and SME leaders. So in your mind, in your perception, what is the best predictor for success for leaders and entrepreneurs?
I mean, wonderful. If there was a predictor, obviously we could have created a tool out of it by now. But I don't think there is a predictor, but there are signals that we see in entrepreneurs and founders. And I think the most important and basic signal is the passion towards the vision that they have. Honestly speaking, in Malaysia, having worked with so many founders and entrepreneurs in the last 2-3 years, the one big difference that sets successful founders apart is the fact that they are passionate about their vision at any given point of the time you speak to them, right? And therefore, that really, I believe, sets you apart. And that's the starting point and building block of having a great, successful business. You have to have a belief that what you are creating is going to create a difference, and most importantly, is solving a certain problem. And so therefore, having that belief that your vision is solving a certain problem definitely will take you up to some level of success with all the efforts that you put in.
Thanks, Dheeraj. So let's dive straight into the data and privacy-centric Web 3.0 next generation internet architecture. So Metaverse is said to be the next big technology platform for online game makers, social networks and other technology leaders. That's quite a lot to take in. So based on data from Newzoo, IDC, PwC, Statista, and Two Circles, Bloomberg estimates that the global metaverse revenue opportunity could reach US $800 billion in 2024, up from just 500 billion US dollars in 2020. So over 50% is expected to benefit online gaming, while live events and social media make up the rest. So, Diraj, how big is the potential for Malaysia? And simply put, what specific opportunities are there for local industry, business and marketing leaders?
Sure. In fact, the numbers that you mentioned, every quarter, I believe those numbers keep really growing up and up. In fact, I believe the latest numbers from Citi mentioned that it's $1 trillion economy, the metaverse, in that sense. But I just wanted to kind of simplify it a little bit. Obviously, these are the buzzwords and you hear a lot about them. But metaverse is nothing but an evolution of how internet has grown, right? If you see the previous version of internet, the Web 2, it was all about social interactions, social management, and doing a lot of engagement on that network. Web 3 is now taking this entire, entire ecosystem into an immersive three-dimensional world. And therefore, that's what Web 3 is. Web 3 is where you will be able to create the same interactions in an immersive, more virtual kind of a world. And therefore, I would say that it's a natural progression and evolution of it. As you rightly mentioned, a lot has been spoken about metaverse in terms of gaming and entertainment. I think those are very straightforward applications of metaverse. But what I am personally excited about is what Web3 would do into the sectors of education, healthcare, and some of the other underserved sectors as well. For example, the reach of education will change tremendously when we will start implementing metaverse and Web3 applications into it. Talk about giving three-dimensional educational system to kids who cannot probably reach colleges or universities and stuff. Similarly, healthcare. Healthcare will become a lot more immersive. Healthcare will become a lot more personal in that sense. And I think we will be able to do a lot more and much faster with Web 3.0 when it comes to healthcare. So I'm personally excited about what it would do. But obviously, those would need a lot more infrastructural benefits. They would need a lot more investments in terms of getting the fundamental structures correct. But I just want to kind of say this, that Web3 or Metaverse is not just about gaming and entertainment. It will have a bigger impact on education, healthcare, and some of the other sectors.
I guess the data on Metaverse will get better on Web 3.0. And I know your point of view is that Web 3.0 and Metaverse are not just mere buzzwords. But some people think that it is to small specialist circles who are in the know. Yeah. They're on the inside. So, but to a lot of people, it's a very complex concept to understand, and to understand what is the end benefit to leaders and organizations. So, bringing the conversation back to Malaysia, how ready is Malaysia to embrace Web 3.0 and Metaverse, and what is the expected rate of adoption?
Sure, yeah. Once again, I don't know, maybe it's the optimist in me, but I think Malaysia, out of all the countries within Southeast Asia or ASEAN, should benefit the most from the Web 3.0 and Metaverse, and a couple of reasons for that.
Malaysia will benefit the most.
Yes. One of the reasons is the internet penetration. If you see, the internet penetration in Malaysia is actually the most in the entire ASEAN region, right? We're talking about almost around 79–80% broadband penetration in this market, right? That itself is a huge infrastructure that is available. Now, what will make it more powerful and more realistic is the launch of 5G, which has already been kind of spoken about. I think looking at the government policies, the way some of the consortiums have been set up, which is going to be helping in the rollout of 5G. 5G will be the defining watershed moment in unlocking the Web 3.0. And if Malaysia is able to therefore launch 5G services and is able to provide 5G services to consumers and people in general, I think Web 3.0 will be a reality faster than we would anticipate. So therefore, looking at all of these building blocks that seem to be existing in Malaysia, I think the adoption rate will be much, much faster. Another important aspect I want to kind of talk about is that Malaysian consumers or people, general citizens of Malaysia, they already are at a higher curve of adoption of digital. If you see the number of apps that we use on a daily basis on our mobile phones, or even the time we spend on our mobile phones in general, right? We are already beating global benchmarks. So therefore, I think the consumers are ready, infrastructure is getting ready, and the policies look like that we will have them soon get in. It will now take corporations and organizations to start testing so that consumers will start experiencing Web 3.0 or Metaverse in a real sense.
So Malaysia's, I mean, talking about foundations earlier, I mean, the customers are ahead in Malaysia, and we're very much online.
Yeah.
And on our mobile all the time, judging from the apps as well as the data that looks at user.
Yeah.
So we're playing catch up with 5G, so that's rolling out. So let's take aside the Digital National Berhad 5G rollout piece of the equation. So to capitalize on the opportunities of Web 3.0 and Metaverse, there will be other building blocks that industry players and leaders need.
Yeah.
Some of it is within their control and some of it is not.
Yeah.
It is not.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have a conversation with you to just understand what is really needed by the industry and what are the challenges for leaders who want to get a sizable piece of the action.
Yeah, yeah. I think the first and the most fundamental building block, apart from the infrastructure, that all of us will have to look at seriously is the safety and making Web 3.0 safe. See, if you want consumers to come and start interacting in that metaverse, and you want them to start, being immersive in that, the first thing they need to do is feel safe in that ecosystem and environment. And I think, therefore, in Malaysia specifically, as leaders and as organizations, the first thing we will have to look at is, are we making Metaverse or Web 3.0 safe? So therefore,
in terms of privacy,
in terms of data privacy, in terms of security, and in terms of all the kinds of other frauds that could happen on internet, any which ways, right? So therefore, safety will become paramount on Metaverse, and hence data privacy will have to be really seriously taken about. And which is why a lot of organizations in Malaysia have already started speaking about the first-party data and how we make our first-party data secure. And along with that, how do we use first-party data in a better way to deliver that experience to consumers?
So but if I, because we need to go to break soon, but I understand that piece, but what I want to understand is there needs to be innovation in order to roll out the services that's
right.
going to entice customers to come in, and that's going to benefit organizations. So what really does the industry need?
So, like you rightly said, the first thing is we need to be bold enough to start testing it, right? I don't think we have innovated enough in this entire area. So the first thing is, as we said, consumers are ready, but brands probably are still trying to kind of catch up to that. So the first thing we need to do is start delivering that innovation to consumers, because internet is ready, consumers are ready. So I think the first point would be, are we doing enough? To start with the basic fundamental things like marketing initiatives that we drive, are they enabling consumers to have that experience? I think that's the first starting point of driving that innovation agenda.
Okay. We'll go for a short break. Leader Speakeasy with usually Lokman and Rosina. We'll be back with Dhiraj Raina, CEO and Organising Chairperson for the Media Specialist Awards 2022. We're back with Leader Speakeasy with Lokman and Rosina in conversation with Dhiraj Raina, the Organising Chairperson for the Media Specialist Awards 2022. So Dhiraj, we spoke about industry opportunities and challenges for leaders in driving the adoption of Web 3.0 and Metaverse before the break. So share with us the vision and role of the Media Specialist Association. What initiatives are the most pertinent for you right now to further your agenda?
Sure. So Media Specialist Association is basically an industry body of all the media practitioners in Malaysia, right? So it includes all the agencies, local, global, which become a part of this industry. So this is basically everything that happens within the media and advertising industry. The core vision for the MSA is about being the catalyst of that digital acceleration that has to happen in this market. And therefore, if you see all the initiatives or programs that have been lined up by MSA are around enabling agencies or advertisers in this market to therefore unlock their potential on the digital platform. There are a multi-pronged approach that we have within MSA. We do a lot of initiatives around the educational programs. Like, for example, one of the things we are doing is doing a grassroots level education program with the universities so that we can create a very strong talent pool for coming into the industry, because obviously talent is the only asset we have in this industry, right? The other initiative that we are driving is educational programs with our partners, where all of these new technologies that are coming from some of the global tech giants is first introduced in Malaysia, and therefore the agencies and brands in this market are really ready to kind of unlock them. So that's the second aspect of it. Third aspect is around working around driving more efficiency of our industry, whether that's from a measurement perspective or whether that's looking at how do we help the entire ecosystem of media owners, advertisers, as well as agencies to grow together. So I believe MSA is at the forefront of driving that change, and especially a lot of that change is happening in the digital environment and digital acceleration of the country.
So you go to the colleges, right? But what about people in the industry now? I think the talent pool is something that many people are concerned about in us playing catch up with Metaverse and what Web 3.0 has to offer.
Yeah. So I think with the industry and especially the talent that we have already in the industry, there is a constant ongoing upskilling program that goes on. And this upskilling program runs at an industry level. It also runs at the individual organizational or agency levels as well. But you're right, a lot of our focus, and especially it becomes critical in our industry because majority of the work that we do digital, and I have to be honest, in digital, every 6 months our life changes. We have to constantly be at the forefront of learning curve, and it doesn't matter whether you are the CEO of the company or whether you are just starting in that organization. Everybody has to keep learning every 6 months. So therefore, there's a constant upskilling that keeps running, and MSA is kind of championing that, like I said, with some of the partners that we have in this market. And that's where we drive what's new and upcoming, what are the changes we should anticipate in the digital ecosystem, and therefore, how do we become ready for that?
So given the changes that you're talking about, I mean, whether it's in your marketing leadership practice or in terms of the 2022 Malaysian Media Specialist Award that's coming out in August, how do you, what's the impact? How do you reset mindsets and practices of marketing leaders to embrace what's coming, and then also to influence the C-suite? That's the next stage, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things that I believe has happened with marketing is that over the period of years, it has started becoming more accountable. I'm not saying that it was not accountable. It was accountable, but I think for a lot of organizations, it was accountable for driving some of the brand metrics, or what we call the brand health metrics. But what is interesting is that because of pandemic, everything has boiled down to business growth. And therefore, marketing, I believe, has been working very hard in terms of driving and delivering that business growth. And therefore, one of the key aspects of resetting that has been attributing all that we do towards driving that business growth, right? So therefore, the best way to convince a C-suite is if you tell the C-suite what numbers it will deliver in terms of the initiatives that you drive. So a lot of discussion, if you see in the last 1.5, 2 years, has been around driving effective measurement, driving effective attribution of what we do in marketing, and how much of that is actually leading to the tangible results. So therefore, I would say that once again, the growth mindset and championing that growth mindset has been the one key reset, I believe, that has happened in a lot of leaders and should happen in whoever has not happened yet.
I guess metaverse and data means
Will-
that it's easier to measure impact.
Absolutely.
So, how can marketing and specialist leaders position themselves to be able to effectively influence board and C-suite decisions to equip their organization for rapidly emerging technologies and ensure sustainable business growth? Because, still here we see that not many marketing leaders sit in boards, but yet they have to influence key decisions. So how do we address this? And will it be better to form alliances so that marketing can be? Share with me your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, you spoke about alliances, and I think that's been a key mantra, I would say, in the industry in the last few years. I think organizations are more open towards partnering, because what we have realized is that collaboration is the best way of unlocking growth for a lot of brands and companies. Especially also because everybody is fighting for the share of attention of the same consumer, right? So therefore, how do you create synergistic partnerships that unlock those growth? And a lot of discussion has been happening around that. I think one interesting aspect of partnership that is still very nascent in Malaysia but is picking up steam is the data partnerships or data consortiums. I think you will very soon in near future see a lot of organizations coming together once they have figured out how they will maintain their data privacy to unlock and come together and share data for the better consumer experience. At the end of the day, everything has to be done by keeping in mind delivering a better consumer or customer experience. So you will see a lot of organizations coming together and partnering in terms of data collaboration, which will eventually unlock more budgets and which will eventually unlock more revenue for the organizations as well.
Okay, so just very briefly, what advice, I mean, certainly we want to see more marketing leaders on boards. What advice would you give to young leaders who aspire to be at the forefront of technology and the marketing communication industry and, in fact, industry in general?
As I said, I think one of the biggest attributes we need today is to have that courage to innovate. I think somewhere we have forgotten the art of being bold. And therefore, that's very, very critical, especially because technology is something that we will never get 100% hang of, right? It will keep evolving, and we will have to keep evolving with that. So the only way to really see the real value of it is by testing and by innovating all the time. I think the biggest deterrent for any marketing leader would be being in status quo. And that's exactly what Malaysia and Metaverse as a theme for MSA Awards is talking about, is how do you look into the future and how do you look into what possibilities Web3 or Metaverse will unlock for the marketers so that we could really get you ready for innovation in the market. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dheeraj, we'll now move on to the fun quickfire questions. You only have, this is like a game show, 20 seconds to answer each question. So in this segment, our viewers get the rare chance to get to know you, our guest, up close and personal. So, I understand you're a really, really good cook. So what's your best dish to impress your guest?
Well, yes, I love cooking, and probably that's what keeps me sane. I think my best dish is definitely Rogan Josh. It is a Kashmiri cuisine from north of India, and that's what I believe is the best that comes out of my kitchen.
Excellent. I mean, he's a really good cook. So I understand you're also a very adventurous and avid traveler. What's your favorite experiential travel experience or destination so far, and why?
That's right. I love travel, and I've always believed that Asia is very rich in terms of culture. So I would say one of my favorite travel destinations has been Chiang Mai in Thailand, because it's a beautiful coming together of culture and modernity. If you look at the hipster cafes and the traditions that are set in that city.
Okay, so going down the same thread, what's the worst travel destination you've been to, and why?
Worst travel destination. I think travel destinations depends on how you expect out of those places. But I think it's been a bit challenging for me sometimes to travel to the eastern part of Asia. I wouldn't name the place, but yeah.
Okay. So what's the one thing nobody knows about you in 20 seconds?
One thing that nobody knows about me. I can sing as well.
Okay. So you can sing. What's your favorite song?
I've grown up on Hindustani classical music, so a lot of that, yes.
Okay. So very popular genre still. So a big thank you to Dheeraj Raina, the organising chairperson for the Media Specialist Awards 2022, for an insightful conversation on how marketing leaders can drive change in the face of disruptions. So be sure to join us on Leader Speakeasy with Lokman next time and Rosina for conversations on leadership as the country and the world strive to bounce back after the pandemic. I'm Rosina Aziz, wishing you the very best in your career, business and leadership journey. Stay safe, stay resilient.